Hello my dear students. Let us continue with the chapter Typical Configuration of Computer System. In our previous video, we have started with the concept that is memory. In that we have discussed what is internal memory, what kind of memory is being stored in internal memory, which includes registers, cache memory and the primary memory that are being directly accessed by the processor for the processing purpose. Some of the features of the internal memory were it was providing only for the temporary storage, which had a limited storage capacity. They were very expensive, but they were faster access. That means they were the data transfer between through the internal memory to the CPU was will be very fast. And we have discussed there are two kinds of memory. One is primary memory and the other is the secondary memory. Secondary memory we need to yet to discuss. We know that primary memory is also called as the main memory, which usually stores the programs and data that are currently needed by the CPU for the processing purpose. Because the because the size of the primary memory is very small comparatively to the secondary storage memory, okay, therefore we need the to store the data permanently, we need the secondary storage devices because the size of the primary memory will be very small. Okay, then this primary memory is actually being divided into two types. One is random access memory and one is read-only memory. What kind of information does your random access memory hold is it stores the computer's operating system, okay, and it stores the application program, and it also stores the current data that the processor can reach quickly. We know that operating system will be loaded into the computer memory through the help of BIOS chip from the read-only memory. This point I have already made it clear in our previous video itself. Now this random access memory, it actually needs the constant electrical power in order to store the data. Once this power supply has been stopped, whatever the contents are being stored in this random access memory will be completely erased, isn't it? Then we have also we had also discussed about the types of the random access memory. In that we have discussed only about the dynamic random access memory. This is nothing but the dynamic random access memory chip. This DRAM, it is it's a kind of memory chip which makes use of the transistors and the capacitors, isn't it? These are the capacitors and these are the transistors. In order to make one memory cell, okay, in order to make this one memory cell, yes, in order to make this one memory cell, we are using the combination of transistors and the capacitors, where the capacitors were holding the data, okay, whereas the transistors are acting as the switch that will allow the control signals to read the data from the capacitors. Okay, so in dynamic random access memory, the transistors are being arranged in terms of matrix of rows and columns, and the capacitors actually hold the bits of information that is in terms of zeros and ones. But here we should know that because this DRAM is using the capacitor, they need to continuously, they have to be refreshed by using the electricity constantly. So these capacitors has to be continuously charged through the electricity. They have to be refreshed by making use of the electricity, because these capacitors cannot hold the data for a long time. They start constantly leaking the data. That means leaking in the sense they start constantly losing the data whatever it is being stored. Hence they need the constant refreshing. That is the name why we name this kind of random access memory as dynamic random access memory. So because it is continuously using the refreshing by the electricity. So this DRAM has to be refreshed continuously in order to store the information. This refresh operation usually automatically occurs after every 1000 times per second. We need not manually refresh it. Internally, automatically the refreshing will appear after every 1000 times per second. Because of this refreshing, the dynamic random access memory is slower in data transfer rate, but it is very less expensive and consumes very less power also. But what is the access speed? That means what is the data transfer rate between this dynamic random access memory and the CPU is 50 to 150 nanoseconds. Okay. We know that internal memory should be quite, how fast the internal memory is fast, so fast your computer needs to, will be faster in processing the data. Here the time duration takes place between this dynamic random access memory and the CPU is 50 to 150 nanoseconds. So nanoseconds is nothing but it's a 1 billionth of a second. Moving on to, there are two types of dynamic random access memory. One is the SDR, that is synchronous dynamic random access memory, and the other one is the double data rate synchronous dynamic random access memory. We will first discuss what about the SDRAM. SDRAM is a kind of a special type of dynamic random access memory that is synchronized with the system clock. That means there is one system clock which has been maintained on your motherboard. Okay, so this synchronous dynamic random access memory will transfer the data whenever the clock signal is high. Okay, high in the sense whenever the clock signals attain the value as 1, then only the synchronous dynamic random access memory would transfer the data. You can see here non-DDR in the sense that is the synchronous dynamic random access memory. DDR in the sense it's a second type of dynamic random access memory. So I'll show you here. So when the clock, this is nothing but when the clock signal is low, that is this one, this notation. Now here you can see the clock signal is high. Okay, it is clock signal is high means this is the symbol. These are the analog symbols. These are the analog signal, isn't it? Analog signals, it will be having one time it will be low and one time it will be high. So this synchronous dynamic random access memory, it has been associated with this system clock. It's an internal system clock. So this synchronous dynamic random access memory, it will transfer the data only when the clock signal is high. That means when it attains the value as 1, only in that case the data transfer takes place. Otherwise, when the clock signal is low, there will be no data transfer. Data transfer will takes place between the SDRAM and the CPU. But this SDRAM knows that when does the next cycle is coming, and it keeps the data ready whenever the CPU will request for it. Okay, so here you can see when the clock signal is low, it will not transfer. This notation X mark, cross mark, here it is showing it is the data transfer at this point. So when the signal is low, it is not transferring. When the signal is high, yes, there is a data transfer. Again low, no data transfer. Again when it is high, the data transfer takes place. Okay, then what is this 64 and 64 bits and this is 32 bits? I think already dual inline memory modules I have already discussed when I was discussing about the types of motherboard. This synchronous dynamic random access memory can also be called as dual inline memory modules or the single inline memory modules. See, if your address bus, if it is of 64 bits, then you can transfer 64 bits at a time. That means if your address bus or your data bus, if it is having 64 parallel wires. What is bus? Bus is nothing but the collection of parallel wires that is used to transfer the data between the various components of your computer system. The width of the data bus is actually determined by the number of parallel wires present in it. If your data path, if it is having 64 wires into it, that means at a time you can transfer of 64 bits at a time. If your data path is of 32 bits, then at a time you can transfer how many? 32 bits of data you can transfer at the simultaneously. Okay, that's what it is showing. See, when the clock signal was low, there was no data. This was when the clock signal was high, it was transfer the data. So at the time of clock signal was low, there is no transfer of data. When the clock signal is high, there is a transfer of data. That is why we say that synchronous dynamic random access memory, it is synchronized with the system clock. This means that this SDRAM actually responds very quickly as possible to the CPU, and whenever CPU makes the request for the data, only at the rising edge of the clock signal it will transfer the data. Okay. So this SDRAM actually waits for clock signal before responding to the control input. Okay. Then because of this, it allows very high data access rates than the asynchronous dynamic random access memory. Asynchronous random access memory, in the sense, DRAM which we have studied, this is not at all associated with the clock signal. Then I can say it is a asynchronous dynamic random access memory. Your SDRAM is actually, it is associated with the system clock. That is why I call it as synchronous dynamic random access memory. You can see here, DRAM operates asynchronously with the system clock, means it is not synchronized with the system clock. It is not working with the system clock. Synchronous means SDRAM operates synchronously with the system clock, means only it is completely associated with the system clock. How? Only when the clock signal is high, it will transfer the data. When clock signal is low, there is no transfer of the data. I hope you are able to understand the difference between asynchronous and synchronous here. Moving on to the next type of dynamic random access memory is double data rate synchronous dynamic random access memory, or in short you can also call it as DDR SDRAM. Okay, this DDR SDRAM works very much similar to the SDRAM itself, but here what happens, the data transfer rate is double when comparatively to the synchronous dynamic random access memory. Why? Because this DDR is capable of transferring the data both at the rising edge and the falling edges of the clock signal. So you can see here there is a falling edge of the clock signal. It will transfer the data. Cross mark indicates it is transferring the data, as well as it is also transferring the data when the clock signal is high. You can see here. So this DDR is transferring the data at both the rising edge and the falling edge of the clock signal for the lower clock frequency. That is why we say that double data rate random access memory, it is capable of transferring the double amount of the data to the CPU comparatively to the SDRAM. Therefore, obviously the data transfer rate will be high in case of DDR SDRAM. I hope you are very much clear about the types of the dynamic random access memory. Moving on to the next one, that is the static memory. Okay, static memory, that is the static random access memory, which also stands that is SRAM. So this SRAM is simply a it is a memory chip. Usually that has been used in the cache memory due to its high speed. I'll show you one of the image here. So this static random access memory, it is, yes, you can see there is a cache memory. So this static random, that is SRAM, it is a kind of a memory chip that is used in the cache memory due to its high speed. So this SRAM, it is again the similar of this same memory slot only. It will be also same like this only. This SRAM actually makes multiple use of transistor, almost 4 to 6 transistors it is using in order to make one memory cell, and it is not at all using any kind of capacitors into it. If there is no capacitor, if there is no capacitor, then you don't need continuously refreshing process, isn't it? So but if there is no refreshing process in the refreshing operation takes place, means obviously the data transfer rate will be very faster, because of if at all if it is refreshing process is there, then the data transfer would takes time. Okay, So this static random access memory, in this actually memory location, memory cell is been made up only based upon the transistor. Around 4 to 6 transistors it is making use, and it is not using any capacitors into it. So that SRAM memory cell has more parts, so it has taken more space onto the chip than the dynamic random access memory cell. Because it is using 4 to 6 transistor, it takes more size onto the onto the chip than the dynamic random access memory cell, and it doesn't need any constant refreshing at all. Therefore it is faster comparatively to the dynamic random access memory. But this SRAM is quite expensive, okay, than the dynamic random access memory, and takes more space. It stores the information as long it is being supplied with the power. Means it will retain the information stored into it until and unless you keeps the power supply on, as comparatively to the dynamic random access memory, which continuously it will start losing its information in a very short period of time, even when there is power supply is on. Okay, that is why in order to not to lose the contents, you need to have the continuous refreshing in the dynamic random access memory. But in case of SRAM, it is not so. Until and unless you keeps the power supply on, all the contents into it will be there. It will not get erased. This SRAM is quite faster and it is very much easier to use. The access speed of this SRAM is 2 to 10 nanosecond. Whereas in case of dynamic random access memory, it was 50 to 150 nanoseconds. Because of the refreshing process, it will get delay. The data transfer will be slow. But in case of static random access memory, there is no refreshing at all. Okay, and that is the reason here the data transfer rate is around 2 to 10 nanoseconds. I hope you are able to understand. So this was all about the RAM and its type. Then moving on to the secondary memory. So since the storage capacity of the primary memory is not that it cannot hold a large amount of data, that which may include the programs that might be needed for the processing. Hence we actually need for the secondary storage devices. Okay, the secondary storage devices, they used to store the information permanently so that you can use it for the future purpose. Unlike the primary memory, which are the temporary storage location. We can also say that the secondary storage devices like your hard disk, floppy disk, okay, or the flash drives like your pen drives, okay, then the optical disk, your CD, that is compact disk. So all these are the devices that may come in the secondary memory storage devices. So I hope you are able to understand. Here in our one question is very important. What is RAM, and explain the types of RAM from your exam point of view. So they'll be usually they'll be asking about the what is the difference between the dynamic random access memory and the static random access memory. So dynamic random access memory needs the continuously refreshing, whereas the static random access memory doesn't takes at all any kind of refreshing, isn't it? So this difference you should be able to write in the examination. So I hope the concepts are clear. In our next video, we are going to discuss about the registers, cache memory, and the last concept as the power supply. So I hope the concepts are clear to you. Keep studying. Thank you, students.